Hi, I'm Nicole Reilley. Welcome to day 4 of Living Easter Every Day. Today, we're continuing to talk about how we do this, how we live through the glory of Easter and then live it out every day in our lives. We've talked about so far that Easter is the gift of the wide open life, that Easter is about the gift of salvation, and that Easter is about the gift of freedom. So that wide open life is that bigger life that God has for us. And that came from a text that we read in 2 Corinthians. And it's important to know that St. Paul isn't saying this wide open life and he's on some vacation. No, he's someone who knew a lot of suffering and jail. And he called people to live a bigger life, even in the midst of all that is. Now, when we talked about salvation in our second day, we were talking about salvation isn't about a narrow thing, but the word salvation in the English originally means to be roomy and to be broad. So it is about love and grace and mercy and forgiveness and joy. It is about those bigger feelings, those expansive ways of being and living in life. And then day 3, we talked about freedom. And how because of Jesus, we have this new way, this way of freedom. And so you and I, we are not rooted in our past. We are not a slave to our brokenness. We are not cut out because of what we've done. Because of Jesus and the gift of Easter, we are able to live into what the scripture calls being a new creation. A new creation is all about this true freedom. It's what enables us to embrace the wide open life. It's what enables us to see that salvation is for all of us. So over these 3 days so far, we've talked about all this good stuff. You know, that God in Easter has for us a wide open life, salvation, and freedom. And today, I want to pick up something we talked about a very little bit at the end of yesterday. We're going to talk about what we might need to let go of in order to embrace the resurrection and all it has to bring us. So let me share with you 3 things that I've experienced and I've seen others experience as they seek to live more fully into their faith and the reality of Easter. The first thing that we continually work to let go of is working to let go of fear. Fear is, of course, a very common feeling, and there's all kinds of acronyms that creative people have come up for it. Fear is false evidence appearing real, or false expectations appearing real, or face everything and rise, or face it, explore it, accept it, and rise above it. I think the one I would like the best is face everything and rise. You know, life is a series of things that are difficult and challenging. Probably about 50% of life is like that. Easter says to us that fear isn't our boss. So to take these steps and to start living a little more fully into Easter, work to let go of that fear, to acknowledge it, to see it's there, and then to know that you do not have to claim it and live in it. You can work to let go of it. Second thing, I want to encourage you to let go of small living as you live into what Easter is all about. This comes from one of the lines in 2 Corinthians where it says, your lives aren't small, but you're living them in small ways. We do this when we are afraid. And I think sometimes we're afraid of living a bigger life because we know someone's going to say, who do you think you are? Right? We have to, though, let go of small living. Easter speaks about this big life that God has for each of us. This big life that we are to receive and live into, and to stop playing small. So I want to encourage you to give up playing small this Easter. And then third, letting go of holding on how you think it needs to be. And day one, we talked a little bit about some of the things N.T. Wright talked about in one of his books about this desire for more. And he listed 4 things. And one of them, he said that we're called to understand and live into the reality that life is fragile and that nothing is forever. And that we need to grow into an understanding of this, that this will make us deeper and richer people when we're not fighting against life's fragility, when we're not fighting against the reality of what is. When we do this, when we let go of how we think things need to be, it's about learning to let go and trust. And it's about learning to take our place in creation. I know for myself, when I learn to let go, I actually find I have much more. As I try to hold on, I find I have less. And when I learn to let go, I find that I am letting God be God. And I am letting me just be me. I am not anything more than me. So to receive the gifts of Easter, we have to learn to trust and let go. So today, what I want you to do is I want you to think a little bit about this idea of a stumbling block a little more, and not just rush past it, but pause and be honest. I know that it is very difficult to change how we think about things. Our mind has kind of the ruts that it gets stuck in. It's hard to think differently about ourselves and our life. That's why last week in worship, one of the things I recommended were biblical affirmations. You can Google a sheet and find biblical affirmations, but I'll also post one in the email that I send out for Living Easter Every Day, and also on our Facebook page where we're posting these videos as well. So just try it. As you learn to live more fully into Easter, it's important not just to think about the things you need to leave behind, but the things that God has for you. When we just go, I shouldn't be so negative, I shouldn't be so fearful, I need to live a bigger life, it doesn't help, right? We need something to take its place, something positive and life-giving. So I want to invite you to try the affirmations. Today's Thursday, so read through them once today, and once tomorrow, and once the next day, 3 days, and just see, did this make any difference for me? Is this something I might want to give a week and see how it's working in my life? God has more for us. That's what Easter is all about. So join me tomorrow as we finish up. Thanks for being here.